Hello, friends.
Here we are again in our same shirts.
Our big dangly earrings today. Got the
Yes.
memo.
Big earring day today and tomorrow here is solstice energy. I mean, it won't be when you guys hear this, but I'm celebrating with big earrings.
Yes, beautiful. Well, last week we just put out, I was able to share my story of an Akashic record reading with my friend Dina, who is a channel for a lot of this information about past lives. So if you're interested in hearing about that, you can check out that episode. But one of the messages that I received from Dina was to talk to my plants. And this was super interesting. I didn't share this in the episode. I got that message 2 days after I visited my parents. And my mom's so funny. She'll ask me questions. She's very interested in what I'm learning, even though it may not be for her. She thinks
Okay.
it's super interesting, which I appreciate that she's willing to listen. But she was like, she had this kind of conspiratorial tone, and she was like, guess what I just read? I was like, what? She said, they have done studies. There's evidence that if you touch and talk to your plants, they grow better. And I was like,
What? Ooh, okay.
well, and she actually used the word fondle, which really threw me and sent me off a whole other thing. I was like, are we talking sexually?
Another womb clearing after you left your mom.
All right, we're not talking sexually fondling plants,
What
but
are you talking about here, Mom?
the gift
You're
of
making it creepy.
right, exactly. I'm like, fondle, what a hell of a word. But she was like, so I've just been, and I already do this. I'm touching my plants, I'm talking to them. And so then when I got the message that my plants want me to talk to them a little bit more and apparently fondle them,
Yep.
then we're gonna kind of move into this whole discussion about sound today. And so much to say about sound and sound waves and frequency waves. We're going to talk about some sciencey stuff and then maybe some like practical application and fun stories.
And who knows what else? Who knows? We're just gonna let it go where it goes because I try and get focused. Like I'm gonna get all my sound information from all my old messages. It's like, am I gonna? I don't know. So we're just gonna talk about sound.
Just going to talk about sound.
Let's
So I
do.
have some fun facts if we want to
Okay.
start with that.
All right. Start with fun
So
fact.
y'all probably know this already, but sound waves are different from light waves and radio waves in that they have to travel through particles, whereas radio and light does not. So that's why underwater sound travels so much faster and there's no sound in space.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
something connected.
That into about sound underwater in some of my channeling. But all right, so that's a cool fun fact. Here's something I want to talk about. There is the creative power of sound. So, God spoke the universe into existence, right? So it's a way of saying, all right, let's pretend I am a spark of the divine. I'm a spark of God. And maybe when I speak, I'm speaking my universe into existence. So, let's think about that. The words we speak have power to create or destroy. And we know that in relationships. We know that in the way we talk to our kids, our plants, our water. We talked about that last week. And so thinking about what the guides called it, they called it in America, they called it, we're hooked on phonics. Basically, we're stuck in our language. Our language is holding a vibration that we're not aware of. So I think last week we said news and noose. Okay, that's weird. Why is news and noose the same? Let's think about that. Weekend is weakened. How many of us use the weekend to lapse into a weakened state? We drink too much, we binge watch Netflix. It's like, well, that's weird. Debt and dead. Huh.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, I never really thought about that either. I mean, there's so many words that I was writing down, like, oh, we don't even think about all these words. And even when you say, good morning, weird when someone dies, what are you in? Mourning. So they were saying our limited understanding of the phonetics, the words that we use, is kind of keeping us a little bit hooked, stuck in a lower vibratory field.
Yes. And specific languages, world languages, some are worse than others about carrying certain vibrations with words that we use every day that we don't think about. English in part. So English, we've got all of the homonyms, words that sound the same, that mean a bunch of different things.
It's ridiculous.
But I'm going to grab this book real quick.
Okay. I mean, so to speak to that, if there is a vibration that is unchangeable, unless the intention, it can be altered with the intention behind it, yet the word holds a vibration. It just does. So it's pretty strange that we have all these homonyms, because how is that diluting the power of my voice to shape matter?
Right. Because now this one sound could mean all of these different intentions. So this book, and I love this guy, it's called Prayers of the Cosmos by Neil Douglas Klotz. So he is an expert in Arabic. And Aramaic. And Aramaic was the language of Jesus. And so what he does is he takes the words of Jesus in the original Aramaic, which is such a deeply prophetic, like poetic language with deep layers of meaning for each word. And he translates it into English poetry. So just for one example, he takes the Lord's Prayer, "Our Father which art in heaven," that one line, there's a full poem for that one line from the original Aramaic. And it starts off, "O birther, Father, Mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light, the breathing life of all, creator of the shimmering sound that touches us, respiration of all worlds, we hear you breathing in and out in silence, source of sound, in the roar and the whisper, in the breeze and the whirlwind, we hear your name."
All right. So in Aramaic, there is the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, and it's a song. And maybe we'll attach that to this episode, because it's beautiful.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So, all right. So we're going to talk about sound, how we use sound to shape matter. And, that is what's happening. We are shaping matter with sound. And I'm trying to think of different things. So the word spell, right? And to cast a spell. We're literally using the words that we've made to either, create matter or cast a spell. So just start noticing it. I guess just start noticing. My guide said to me once, your experience of time, and if you turn that word backwards, it's emit, is in relation to the frequencies that you emit. So think of sound as a frequency you're emitting that will shape your experience of time, either to create something that you find favorable or something that you find disfavorable.
Yeah, and I think about that book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. Maybe y'all read it. The very first, these are 4 agreements that are just kind of like universal principles to live by. And the first one is be impeccable with your word. Impeccable. And I think it is what you were talking about, Julie, like just bringing awareness to every word that comes out. Like, is this what I'm intending to communicate and to create? And I've even noticed just when I'm like driving, right? And someone cuts me off, I'm like, this motherfucker, I bitch, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm sending that vibration to that person. They may not consciously receive it, but they're receiving it because that's the power of my word. Conversely, hang on, let me just finish this thought. Conversely, we get to choose how much power other people's words have over us. So again, it's both and. Yes, words create, and we get to choose if words create or not. So
Okay, so when you said you're doing bitch that, and that's extending her, guess who's receiving that vibration first and foremost? You. So if you haven't gotten to the place where you care about the driver in front of you or the driver who cut you back in front of you, if you've not gotten to the place where you can recognize, hey, maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe this isn't some aggressive action against my life. If you haven't gotten there, okay, and you start screaming shit and what kind of motherfuckers are on the road, you're doing that to you. You are doing that to you. That vibration, those words cause disease. They cause disease. So that being impeccable with your words. Also, when you say things like, I don't know, I just can't get anything done. Don't say that. Don't say that. I mean, I could apply that to many years of my life where I might have upset. But I'm like, right now I'm feeling like the universe is asking me to just sit for a little bit and not move in any direction right now, instead of I can't get anything done. It's just changing how you speak about what it is you wish or don't wish to experience in your life. That's all. And my guides have talked to me a lot about I am. People say, oh, well, you're being your I am presence and, embrace the mighty I am. I am is a declaration. It is the most powerful declaration we can make. So think about the word that comes after I am.
Yes. And, that's straight from the Bible. That's God's words. God said, I am the I am. Because God's people were asking, like, what do we call this God? There's all these other gods. They've got names. And the God of the Bible just says, I am the I am.
And that's the highest declaration and vibration. I am. And if you start, mantraing, chanting that, there is this great song, I am, and you find yourself going, your body will just start like lighting up because of that powerful vibration of I am.
Yep. I sing that song when I smudge my house with my sage sticks. I just sing the I am over and over and over again, saying, like, if you are not here for the highest vibration of my I am, you gotta get the fuck out. Bye. And they can't stay around. They can't be there. So negative energies must leave.
Yeah, you must leave. Yeah, you must leave. If you're not of the light, you must leave. It's your destination. You own your space.
That's right.
We own space. So what sound vibrations are we transmitting? And what vibrations are we receiving? So we're transmitters, we're transducers, and we're receivers. So think about, what are you receiving? We've talked about this before. What kind of frequencies do you listen to? What kind of music? And there used to be a frequency, I don't know exactly the hertz. So hertz is kind of a measurement of these frequencies. And I believe the music industry, I don't know, changed it by a little teeny bit. Yeah. And the Beatles, their music was in this high resonance frequency that created healing. And then,
435, I believe.
Yeah, and is it 4:44 now or something?
4:44. They changed it just a little
Yeah,
bit, just to be a
yeah,
little off.
a little. And what it does to our body is entirely different. And so, speaking of music and plants and all that, sound and plants, there's all kinds of evidence to support this. If you play classical music in the room where your plants are growing, those suckers are going to do real well. So, I mean, think about that then. If our music that we're receiving now is just a little bit off, we're not in harmony. We're not in our highest vibration. And it does start to deteriorate that which we would call the expression of the human. So that was just coming in right now. That's what it slowly does.
Mm.
Slowly.
We
So
don't recognize that it's happening, right?
no, you think of people who listen to, whatever. There's a lot of dark music out there now. I don't know what happened at that concert where everybody went crazy. I don't really know. Travis Scott, whoever that was, but that music, that frequency was part of what drove that madness,
Totally.
that madness.
And, for anyone that may think this is like new age, woo woo, whatever, like these studies on plants and music go all the way back to the 70s, the 60s and 70s. And I found this one woman, Dorothy Ritalak. She was a researcher and author. She was the first one to actually set up experiments with plants and music. And her first experiment was she would play the note F just continually at a plant. And then and she did this for like 8 hours at a time. And then another plant, she would do it for like 4 hours at a time. And then she had a control plant where she didn't play it at all. The one where it was directed at the plant for 8 hours died. The one in the middle flourished, and then the control nothing happened to it. And so her whole conclusion was that too much frequency directed at a plant, at any living thing, can do damage more so than we're even aware of. And then so that's when she started mixing it up with the genres. So she would play classical music, and then she would play rock music, right? And just the overemphasis of frequency at the plant killed it. Or the plants would literally grow away from the speaker, like, get me away from this. Interestingly enough, just fun little side fact, country music, what do you think that did to the plant?
I feel like it was probably pretty neutral.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, neutral. Yeah, I feel like it's neutral.
Yes,
yeah,
nothing.
That makes sense to me. Like, if you just, how do I feel when I'm listening to country? I feel kind of okay. When I'm listening to that like heavy metal stuff, I'm the plant going like, get this away from me. Yeah. And then when I'm listening to music that brings me alive, I mean, you know what that music is. And the more you are harmonized internally, you will be drawn to music that brings you into more harmony. The more you are in the muck, right? So think of teenagers. Oh my God, it's yeah, I mean, notoriously terrible music that they listen to, but they're in that angst. They're in that struggle, they're in that vibration of I'm not good enough, or nobody likes me, or when the hell can I get out of my parents' house? They're trapping me here, You are in a low vibration oftentimes when you're a teen. They like that music. You're like, yeah. What are you doing?
Or not even like, and we can look at it, yes, that's true. We can also look at it not even as in high frequency, low frequency, just I'm sometimes, depending on what my body needs that day, I'm listening to a certain kind of music that maybe you would listen to on one day, or even I would listen to on a different day and be like, I'm not resonating with that at all today.
Right.
So we choose the frequencies that meet us where we are. And sometimes if we're aware of the frequency, we can then choose a higher frequency to draw us up to it.
To lift us up. Yeah, I mean, music is energizing. So I don't know, maybe someone at a gym wants to listen to a little Eminem and get all. I mean, I know you can harness that energy, right? To move heavy things. And then, when you're like, I've had a really rough day, I want some music that's nurturing.
Right.
I mean, even if you don't understand sound or vibration, we've all had that experience,
Right.
just
And
whatever.
we were kind of talking about the power of words to create, but can we move into just like sounds
Yes,
that we make?
and
Like, let's talk about mantra. Let's talk about sound bowls. Yes. No, remember we did this. It doesn't pick up.
oh, it doesn't pick up.
It was. Do it again.
Oh.
Sort of.
Okay, so this was the heart chakra. I did it this morning before we got on for myself. But when I'm doing my sound bowls, oftentimes I can catch orbs. And so it is changing what's occurring around you with sound. And you can use different bowls to activate or balance different chakras. That's how I healed my throat stuff. The tumors I had.
Tell us about that.
I had 3 tumors in my throat. I sounded like I had been smoking for 20 years, like 3 packs a day. And it came on pretty quickly after I was in Italy. And of all places, because I believe I've had past life there. It came on after that. And I knew what energetically this was about for me. They were legit tumors. I went to MD Anderson, blah, blah, blah. But it was at a period in my life when I was suppressing my language. Words wanted to come up in my relationship, but I had gotten to a point where I had enough self-control that I wouldn't go fire off. I wouldn't go blah, 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 blah. So I'd gotten to the point where I was like, no, we don't speak those words because that destroys. So I stopped my expression because I hadn't gotten to the point where I wasn't having the reaction. I was still having the reaction of Claire in traffic on a bad day where she's like, blah, 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 blah. So you get to that point where you're like, this isn't good. I can't express things like that. So I stopped doing that. But my body would, yes, Claire.
Yeah. So this is something my energy mentor, Alexander, taught me that, okay, again, working with energy's got to go somewhere. It can't be created or destroyed. So when that energy comes up, if we suppress, it comes out as disease, as you're sharing. Instead of sounding off on your husband at the time, instead of verbally abusing the people in the strange car, that energy, it's still super, super important for that energy to go somewhere.
Correct.
So that brings me to mantra, or just like, whoop, just like,
releasing. So yeah, thanks, Claire. So I was having the physical reaction and I wasn't releasing that energy. And I believe, it doesn't matter. Okay, so all this developed here. And I had received messages, from my guides about things, and that you could use sound vibration to heal. And so that's when I just decided, I'm going to start chanting and sending this, vibration. And most of it is Sanskrit, mantras that I'm not attaching meaning to. It's just that pure vibration. Long story short, I went back to MD Anderson 6 months later because then they were going to decide, are they going to cut everything out or just do radiation? And the oncologist was like, there is not a sign of anything there. And I knew the day that it left my body because I could feel this mass. I think I've said this, birth itself off the top of my head. I mean, it was, and the minute I felt it leave, I could speak again. So that was the power of sending this vibration intentionally through this area of blockage and like broke it up. Just like when last week we talked about when you're dancing and you're creating that field that's moving and like bits of that gunk I saw flying off of your body. When you're creating that sound energy through your body, bits of gunk, they're flying off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think looking at our throats as an instrument, it's great that it's really popular to go to a sound journey or a sound healing or a sound bath now. And they'll maybe use the sound bowl, the crystal bowls, the gong. I found all kinds of stuff about the gong and why it was used in ancient India and just the resonant power of a gong. Maybe you've been in a situation where you got to receive that. They might use native flute, they might use sitar or whatever else. Those are all amazing. And we have this beautiful tool right here. And when you were saying like the tone for the heart chakra, yeah, each chakra is balanced with a different frequency. So there are seed mantras to bring each one of those energy centers into balance.
And so when you said F, right? So tuning forks, sound bowls, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those are the basics, right? Do, re, mi. So they are assigned a number 174. That's related to a certain chakra. So I believe 174 is root. So you don't even have to memorize the stuff. You don't have to know it. If you're experiencing a problem, you get a sore throat or whatever, go on Spotify. Healing, and you type in HZ for hertz for throat. Oh, cool. It'll generate a playlist. Play that. Play that when you go to sleep that night. Play it in your house during the day. I promise you, it will help you heal. 741 for releasing toxins or negativity. It works.
Yes, it does. And, I remember I got super sick a couple of years ago and I was playing all the healing tones and I was doing everything I was supposed to. And it wasn't some magic panacea. Maybe don't have that expectation, but remember, this is all on a subtle level and it's the consistency of it that makes big changes over time. And so if there's a certain energy center in your body that needs more attention, there are also seed mantras that you can chant or sing. However, there's no right or wrong way to do this. So like root is lam, 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 lam. And then it goes up to yam, yam, ram, ram, and so on all the way up. And you can just look up, okay, my throat, and I can't remember what the throat one is, but you just chant it over and over.
All right, this is from our last week. Or did we do this week? Oh, this week. I am, I am, I am. So get lost in that. I am, I am, I am. You got yam. It does that thing. It's that same, yeah, exactly what you're saying, but it is, yeah. So that makes sense to me.
That's awesome.
I mean, think about it, right? It is like that, which is cool to I'm just kind of putting that together.
Yam is the heart.
I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am,
Ooh, throat is hum. Just feel it.
I hum.
Hum.
Well, and speaking of languages, like we're just throwing it all out there today because we can, because we can. But think about like romance languages and just the pleasure in hearing them, and they just sound beautiful, right? And then hate to throw the Germans under the bus, but that language is harsh. That is cutting. That is and I'm just saying, start paying attention to certain words. Like if you just love a word, right? Like some people like have favorite words. I don't have a favorite word, but some people do. Like play around with like singing that favorite word. What does that do to you?
I
Like
love that. Yeah, and think about kids. Like this is what I always go back to. And we had talked a little bit about inner child last week, but like if you look at kids, or if you find yourself in like a classroom or on a playground, kids just make the most random noises, like blah, blah.
right,
They
right,
make noises that feel good to them.
right.
And sometimes if you know, if you have a kid in your life, what do? They repeat it over and over and over. There's something to that,
Right.
truly. And so
Totally.
if you're kind of playing around with your own throat and your own vocal expression, same with the idea of words. If there's a sound that just feels really good, just keep saying it over and over and over. And
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
there is magic. There is magic in that. It doesn't have to be a mantra, although we do love mantras. You know, it helps with a specific message if you have a specific intention. And I wish I would have brought mine, but if you've seen a mala necklace, it's those necklaces with a bunch of little beads on it, and then there's like a little tassel at the end. That's what people traditionally use when they're chanting a mantra, because a traditional mala has 108 beads on it, and that's just a magical number somehow. Yes.
And it's a magical number because it's a nine, and
Okay.
nine signifies completion and transformation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've always read like, oh, 108. It's very important. But you say the mantra, and you for each bead you say it, and then you say the mantra again, and you just kind of like a rosary that people use for Catholicism, right? So there is mysterious power in repeating words and mantras that mean something for you.
Well, and when I wanted to interrupt, but I didn't, because
Thank
I
you.
have a balanced throat chakra sometimes. I want to go back to making a sound that doesn't make sense, and the story of when I was in the waters of New Zealand, and this sound just came from me. And if I'd been in a place where I was like judging myself, I mean, I kind of was a little bit because it was pretty weird. But we got to be okay being weird. And if we're holding back our fullest expression, I wouldn't have had that experience. I don't know why this sound needed to escape from my mouth. I have no idea. And I needed to do it underwater. Something is just like, no, I'm going to go underwater and make this noise. And it traveled so far underwater. They've talked to me about like pod mentality and dolphins and the sonar frequencies and all that. But that drew to me a very powerful, beautiful, transformative, healing experience because I allowed myself to just do what these kids do. And they just, stuff just comes out. And you're like, God, I wonder why. But wouldn't it be great if we could just play around with that in your house, see what happens? I've had clients before, and I'm doing a Reiki session, and I mean, some sound is coming. And sometimes if it's someone like new, I'm like, I don't think so. But if it's someone that I've worked with and they're pretty open to stuff, I mean, there'll be sounds that come out that are like, I mean, it's like this tribal crazy. I'm not doing it right because it's not coming through me in this moment, and I'm trying to make it happen. But I'm just like, for whatever reason, this needs to come out for this person. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, I can't tell you the number of times someone's like, oh my God, the minute you did that sound, I got this vision of this and this. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why.
Yes, absolutely. And, maybe people have even had similar experiences at a sound bath where the certain sounds or frequencies will take them on a journey because the specific frequency was exactly what they needed to kind of launch them here or launch them there. Yeah, it's inexplainable, but scientific studies do show that gongs and mantra at the very basest level, impacts our nervous system, decreases our stress levels, decreases our cortisol output, brings our brain waves into balance, the right and the left hemisphere. Like this, we are affected on a physiological level by sound that supports us.
Yeah, and sound shapes matter. It shapes matter. So think about that. Like the guys have said to me before, what you make matter in your life, you make into matter. And so that which we give our energy to, whether it's sound, thought, what we give our frequency to, we make into matter. So I would suggest, maybe playing around with sound and how you want to shape matter with your voice.
I didn't tell you this.
Okay.
So I have recently kind of brought my own voice back online. Like I have always loved singing. I sang as a kid. When people are like, what did you do as a kid? When they're trying to help you like figure out your life purpose or whatever, which is very helpful. As a kid, I used to sing, and my parents had this big bay window, and I'd get up on the window and like perform and sing in front of the masses, obviously. Largely Celine Dion. Loved Celine. Okay. So and I love karaoke. That's what we did for my bachelorette party. Like everyone who knows me knows I love some karaoke. But this was a couple months ago. I went to a naturopath and got some labs back, and she said, oh, your thyroid is underactive. And it's similar to your story, Julie. I was like, oh, and she gave me some supplements. She's a naturopath or a family medicine person. And even the supplements, I was like, I don't know why, but this doesn't feel right for me. So I was sitting with it, and then I got the message that was like, keep chanting, keep singing. This is important for who you are. This is important for your body. And if I do this, I will heal my thyroid on my own. And at the same time, I was kind of picking up my Kundalini yoga practice, which is full of mantra and chanting. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I have no medical proof that it's better, but I'm choosing to believe that it's better and more activated. Maybe I'll get labs done later. But I just had the opportunity to this woman who runs like the ecstatic dance that we go to. She offered to give us, me and my friends, harmonium classes.
Ooh.
Do you know, have you seen the harmoniums? Like sometimes looks like a cute little piano, and you kind of pump the back like a bagpipe a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So I'm going to learn harmonium because I think that's somehow going to help me facilitate having people activate their vocals.
Well, and that makes sense. I mean, in a lot of I have so much stuff around here. It's hysterical because I get a message about getting crystal bowls. This was before the big crystal bowl trend was everywhere and everybody was doing it. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. Get a flute. Okay. Get finger bells. I'm like, what? Get tuning forks. And I mean, I was like, this is getting ridiculous. But when they were offering guidance about healing and helping other people heal, it kept coming back to sound. It kept coming back to sound. And I want to read this real quick because I saved a couple things from on my notes the other day, but they said something about sound. I won't read it. It's on here. But I started laughing because I said, what can I do to bring myself into harmony and help bring the planet into harmony? And they talked about the energetics that were being offered now. It was a like sciencey message. But they said about using the bowls and I started laughing. I said, oh, what about the finger bells? I was kind of giving them a little trouble. And I started laughing pretty hard because I was like, oh, what about the finger bells? You can go with, I don't need those anymore. I was kind of giving her a hard time. And I started laughing. And it doesn't matter. What I hear is we're taking note right now of your laughter. and continue. They didn't want to give me any message. They're like, just keep laughing. But the vibration of the laughter, they said, this is what we want for you. This is what we want for all of you. The sound of laughter. And you know, they say laughter is the best medicine. It is that sound of just joy escaping, surprising us, right? It pops out of nowhere. It surprises us with that vibration of joy. It is so revitalizing.
Yes.
And so, you know, I had one person I was working with, and she was having a hard time, and having a hard time shifting. And one suggestion was just watch comedy. Just start watching comedy. You know, if you're in a place where you're low and you're stuck and you're like, I'm not going to get a bowl, I'm not going to learn about my chakras, and you know, maybe you're just like, life feels like too much. Watch some comedy, because the vibration of that laughter moving through your body, that sound will heal.
Yeah, and there's yoga, laughter yoga.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's like you'll like inhale, and then the exhale is a laugh. So it's like, and the science behind that is that we don't even have to actually be genuinely laughing. When we make that sound and we kind of like pump the belly, it triggers endorphins to be released in our brain, whether we're serious about it or not. So again, just another beautiful example of sound healing it from a chemical standpoint in our brain.
I know. And laughter, it's the best. When you come home from a night of either dancing, singing, or laughing
With friends or family. Yep.
It's the best, right? So, I mean, we need more. We need more of that comedy that isn't about, you know, maligning the other, you know, that kind of lowbrow comedy, but just some good comedy. It's so good for the spirit and the body and all of it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there's so much more, you know, maybe sometime. I mean, they're talking to me about the jellyfish and crystals, and the crystals are in each of our cells, and how the crystals, they're not just in our pineal gland. We have crystals in every cell that react to sound. So, I mean, there's so much. Maybe, you know, after we get through some of this other stuff we like to talk about, we'll just break off a chunk of something they say and just play with it with each other. Because I loved, you know, sharing stuff with you too, because you take it in a different direction than I'm sort of seeing or receiving through my lens. It'd be fun to kind of go deeper on some of these topics later.
Yeah,
maybe.
That sounds fun. For now, though, maybe put on some music that makes you feel like dancing and moving, or walk around your house making weird sounds if no one's home. If someone is home, you can still try it, but they might give you a weird look.
Okay, but hold on. I really want to say this because my cat, and I thought of it this morning. So the purr from a cat, the sound, you guys can look this up. It heals bones. It can mend bones back together, which is crazy. Then there's another thing that before athletes were to perform, they went in, basically it was like a cat booth, but it was the sound of cats purring, and it enhances their performance and helps their bodies heal faster from injury.
Wow, I believe it.
So if you're not going to watch comedy, get yourself a cat.
Let them curl up right on your chest, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Teddy.
From the crazy cat ladies.
Oh, and my cat's name is Faye, which if you watched last week's episode, that interesting.
Uh-huh. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I love you. Thanks for joining.
Love y'all. Om.
Oh.